Hey friend, I am coming to you from my vehicle, and yes, I am driving. I know, before you send me nasty comments telling me that this is really unsafe, I am fully aware of the safety issues of trying to do a video while driving a vehicle. But, a couple of things. I am on the interstate, which means I'm on a long stretch of highway. There is very little traffic, and if I sincerely begin to have issues recording this video while I'm driving, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down and ixnay it. But if you see this video in full, then that will tell you that I was able to do this in a safe way. I, of course, am still keeping an eye on my speed. I have my cruise control on. I'm looking around me in my mirrors, and obviously I am looking straight ahead. So I am being very safe, despite the obvious that maybe probably shouldn't record a video while driving. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be a rebel just this one time. And honestly, I made this decision to do this, something I've never done before, because I am in a bit of a crunch. And here's what I mean. It is almost 4 o'clock Central Standard Time where I live, and I am driving in from New Orleans. I spent the weekend in New Orleans with some girlfriends. I'm about 45 minutes from my home, and I just realized I never had time to create a video for this week. If you have been following me, then you know that I now drop a new video every Monday. And in order to do that, that means that I have to have something recorded no later than Sunday. Once again, it is Sunday, October the 12th at almost 4 p.m. And I'm sort of running out of time. Also, when I get home, I haven't seen my husband, so we're going to want to spend some time together. Anyway, I'm just taking advantage of some time that I have, and there you have it. In case you are watching me for the very first time and thinking, who is this crazy lady creating a video while she's driving? I'm Mary. Welcome. Thank you so much for stopping in, and I sincerely hope that you will watch this video to the end, because even though I am a little biased, I do believe what I'm going to be bringing you today can definitely bring some value to your life, and if nothing else, just get you to think a little outside the box and to recognize that dealing with menopause symptoms as a woman does not need to be, nor should it be, cookie cutter. And then also, it's so important that you know, you as a woman over 50 dealing with menopause and postmenopausal symptoms, you are the expert on you. And so you have to pay attention to what is happening with your body, with your mind, and what is something that you need to do, something that you need to add to help mitigate some of your symptoms, to help you just to feel better overall in menopause, and actually give you relief, actually bring about some satisfying results, and just overall feeling better about your menopausal symptoms. And that's what today's video is about. I want to share with you something that I decided to do. I made this decision back in the summer, so it's been a little over 2 months since I made this decision. And I made this decision after, well, I'm going to explain kind of my journey a little bit and like what happened. But basically, I decided to do this one thing for my health in menopause, which technically it's connected to my physical health, but ultimately it's also connected to my mental health, and I promise this will make sense more in just a couple of minutes. But I made this decision based off of some things that I was struggling with, situational, the results I was having, the results I was hoping to have, just kind of various things that were going on. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go to my doctor and I'm going to and I'm going to try to figure out what are my options, and let me try this, see what kind of results I get, and then I can make an informed decision of whether or not I want to continue with this. So before I dive too deep into this one thing, I want to do just a little brief back history. So about 2 years ago, the end of 2023, I knew that, I was definitely moving towards, menopause, postmenopause. I had just turned 53. I was having all the symptoms. I was gaining weight and struggling with, lack of motivation, lack of concentration. I was struggling with mood dysregulation, and I don't know, I was just kind of a little bit of a hot mess. I decided to dive into exercise. I'm a big proponent of exercise. I do believe in it. I think it is wonderful for our physical health and equal for our mental health. I am a huge proponent of walking for your mental health. It's something that I do almost every day, and of course it helps your physical health as well. But I decided at the end of 23 that I was going to hire a trainer. I had never, that's a lie. I did have a trainer like for a hot minute back in my 30s, but I couldn't afford it back then, and so it didn't last very long. So this time I thought, you know what, it's in the budget, they're offering this deal because it was the end of the year, so you know how that works, right? It's the end of the year going into the new year. All these gyms and people in the health industry, they offer all these incentives. So I found this trainer, this young guy, and I only signed up for, I think it was like 6 weeks, whatever, and it was just enough to give me that taste of, okay, I really do need help when it comes to exercising, because although I understand exercise and I technically can do it on my own, being over 50 and knowing that my body just doesn't respond the way that it did in my 30s and even my 40s, noticing the changes, noticing that I had gained weight and it was really challenging to lose the weight, I just knew that I needed a little extra And so I had this trainer for just a few weeks, and then I ended up moving on to a different person who was recommended by a friend, and he ended up being my trainer for about 6 or 7 months, and he was very useful because if nothing else, he just taught me like how to work out, like how to work with machines, how to work with dumbbells. He was giving me some really formative information. He's very well versed, and I just trusted him as a trainer. And so I used him in 2024, and then eventually stopped using him and just kind of started doing things on my own in the gym. So now we're going to go to 2024, the summertime. That is when I knew I had gained weight over the last 6 months. So even though I had got into training, I was trying to focus more on the strength training, lifting weights, kind of pulling back on the cardio, because everybody in the menopause world says, oh, women over 50, we need to lift weights, which we do, and I totally agree with it. But despite doing all of that, I was still gaining weight. So I was already heavy at the end of 23. I didn't like my weight then. I had already gained weight at the end of 23. Wasn't feeling my best, was doing the working out, looking into changing my diet, trying to figure out, how do I need to tweak my diet? What do I need to get rid of and add and so forth? And then when I hopped back on the scale in the summer of 24, I had not weighed myself in a long time, but I knew I had gained weight. I felt it, right? And it was just the weirdest thing, because I truly was exercising earnestly. Like I was truly doing these things to better my body, to better my health, but I still was feeling just kind of lethargic and just, I didn't like it. Well, when I got on the scale in June of 24, I was at my highest weight, and I started doing the math in my head, and I realized, oh crap, I have gained about 26 pounds over the course of roughly 8 to 9 years. Now, when you break that down in the math, it's only like 2 to 3 pounds a year. And so the average person would say, what's the big deal? I mean, 2 to 3 pounds a year, that's nothing. Well, that nothing adds up, because as I said, when I got on the scale in June of 2024, I was still 53 years old, and I realized I had gained all this weight. And I also realized if I don't do something now, meaning June of 24, that I'm going to gain another 25 pounds, and then I really will be obese, right? I'm 5'4", just to kind of, for context, I am not a tall person. And my frame is, I'm not a tiny frame, but I'm also not a large frame. I'm somewhere like in I don't know, the medium, mid-range. I don't even know how you determine that, but just eyeballing myself, you know, my wrists are not very big, but they're also not super tiny. So again, somewhere in the middle. And so for me, it doesn't take much to become overweight because of my structure, my stature. And at that time, last year, I said, okay, everybody was doing the shots, the Ozempic, the Mounjaro, Wegovy, however you say that, all these different weight loss shots. I was opposed to doing that. And so I told myself, I'm going to do it the right way. I am going to really hone in on my diet, and I'm going to increase my exercise. I'm going to do it this way. And that's what I did. And for the most part, from June of 2024 until roughly June of 2025, I really honed in on, you know, increasing my walking, changing up my exercise regimen at the gym, and I started focusing more on a heavy protein, mid-fat, low-carb way of eating, which is essentially the ketogenic diet. I also did a lot of research in the carnivore space, and even though, fast forward today, I'm not 100% either of those ways of eating, I do believe in both of them. I do believe in the benefits of a ketogenic diet, and I do believe in the benefits of a carnivore diet. And so for myself, I was just, you know, spending that year from June of 24 to June of 25, just trying to figure out like what's going to work for me when it comes to this way of eating. And luckily, I love all food. Like, I am not a picky eater. I've never been a picky eater. And so I can eat fruits and vegetables. I can eat meats, you know, all the things. And none of that really bothers me. I don't have any food sensitivities. I don't have any food allergies. So I'm very fortunate when it comes to just eating in general, as far as what affects me, what doesn't affect me. Like, I don't have any gluten intolerance, none of that kind of stuff. And so to eat a, you know, mostly animal-based diet really didn't bother me at all, because like I said, I love pretty much all foods. But where I'm going with this, when I got back on a scale, right? So I weighed myself probably 2 or 3 times over the course of 12 months. Okay? Just was really focusing on how I felt, was really focusing on how my clothes were fitting, and just trying to stay away from the scale. I finally just kind of broke down and had that little come to Jesus with myself this past June, and I thought, you know what? I need to see where I am. I haven't weighed myself in a long time. I feel like I'm heavier. I feel like even though I'm more cognizant of my food intake, you know, my diet was mostly 80-20. 80% being primarily animal-based, heavy in the protein, kind of mid-fat, low carbohydrate. 20% being a little bit of sugar, a little bit of alcohol, kind of those occasions when I might vacation, or, you know, weddings or birthdays, you know, those types of things, I would allow myself to indulge. So that was like the 20%. So that was kind of like where I was, you know, for the most part of the year. But when I decided to get on the scale this past June again, and I realized, holy crap, I have just been losing and gaining the same 10 pounds over the course of 12 months. Like, I really have not made much progress at all. I started feeling really defeated, and it was affecting my mental health. I was, starting to become hard on myself. I was doing all the things that I know not to do. Like, I know not to be negative with myself. I know not to beat myself up. I know that I need to show kindness and grace to myself and my body. I know that, all these things that I was doing, I knew better not to do it. But I was still struggling to really connect those dots and to make that shift for myself mentally and emotionally. But it was in that moment that I thought, okay, do something that I said I would never do. Something that I was judging other people about, namely some of my friends. But I just felt in that moment, and I still do now, hence this video, that it was the best thing for me in that moment. Like, it was a right decision. But I knew that I needed to educate myself. I knew I needed to know more, understand more, and really look at this from a broader perspective. Because in the past, I was really kind of honing in on all the negatives, meaning, I don't really know what this drug's gonna do, and these people are crazy for taking, putting these drugs in their body, and they just need to do it the natural way. They just need to change their diet and exercise. All these types of things that I had thoughts in the past. And so in that moment, when I humbled myself and I started thinking about all of it, I realized, okay, you know what? It's not really what you think. You have been speaking out of ignorance, Mary, and you need to educate yourself and learn more about these weight loss drugs, about these peptides, and find one that you feel comfortable trying, and talk to the doctor about it. And so that's what I did. I went to the doctor in July of this year, and I had the conversation with her, and I pretty much said everything that I'm saying in this video about my journey, and she inadvertently validated me, and that was such a huge thing for me. And here's what she said and how she validated me. When I explained to her, my frustrations and how it was, affecting me, mentally and emotionally and just physically and all the things, and just telling her my struggles, she said to me, she goes, a lot of women, first of all, struggle with weight gain and weight loss during menopause. And a lot of women get so frustrated because, what used to work 10, 20 years ago no longer works. Like, it doesn't translate into your 50s. And she told me about a study that was done, and I apologize, I don't have the name for it. I will do my best to find, if I find the name of it, I will link it in the description. But anyway, she was telling me about the study that was done on two groups of women, and they were all like, menopausal, postmenopausal, and one group was given a particular diet and exercise regimen. So it was really kind of strict on the diet and exercise. And then the other group was a placebo group, okay? And so after X amount of weeks of these two groups of women doing these two different things, they looked at the numbers again, the scale, the weight, the inches, all the things. And there was very little difference. So basically, the one group that had completely changed their diet and was exercising, they really didn't have anything, remarkable as far as outcome in comparison to the placebo group. And her point was, yes, you need to eat a healthy diet. Yes, you need to exercise. But yes, you also need to, as a woman over 50, you need to recognize what's happening with your body. Like, how your hormonal imbalances are affecting your ability to lose weight, even doing all the things. Because if we're not careful in that state of mind, when we are frustrated with our bodies, when we are just feeling so much because I'm doing all the things and the weight is not coming off. As a matter of fact, I'm gaining more your weight, it is so easy to get into this really unhealthy mindset of, I'm just going to starve myself. And then you risk developing an eating disorder or having disordered eating. And it's a whole plethora of just craziness that happens in our heads. And so, basically, she was just saying that it's important to recognize sometimes you need help. Sometimes you need to do something that you said you were never going to do. Sometimes you need to acknowledge that it's okay. It's okay that you need some assistance with this medication to help you not just lose weight, but to feel better. And so after this conversation with her, I felt so much better. And as I said a little while ago, I've had to really humble myself and realize, okay, you were being ignorant and now you need to educate yourself. So going back to sitting in my doctor's office this past summer, getting educated, I made the educated decision to try compounded Tirzepatide. Now, a little quick sidebar, if you're not familiar with Tirzepatide, basically Mounjaro is a form of Tirzepatide. Zepbound is, a form of Tirzepatide. The difference is Mounjaro and Zepbound are FDA approved because these weight loss drugs like Ozempic, Mounjaro, Zepbound, etc., they have a particular peptide, whether it's a semaglutide like Ozempic or Tirzepatide like Mounjaro, and then they add in other things like different types of vitamins and minerals. All of that is FDA approved. Also, those drugs like Ozempic and Mounjaro and Zepbound, they come in pre-dosed pens. So they're like little individual pens, and that's what you shoot into your body, and you cannot adjust the dosage at all. I personally didn't want that, and so my doctor didn't even recommend that. She recommended a compounded Tirzepatide, which is a GLP-1 and a GIP. Don't ask what that stands for because I can never remember, so go to Google. But essentially, Ozempic is a GLP-1 only, and then Tirzepatide is a GLP-1 plus a GIP. So the compounded Tirzepatide, it is sent to you from a compounded pharmacy, and you get a little bitty vial, and then it comes with the syringes, and it's all laid out for you. It has everything that you need. It even has the little wipes to like clean the site of the shot, and basically you dose it yourself. And she started me on the very lowest dose, which is 22 units. So just for the context, because I had to educate myself, 22 units of compounded Tirzepatide is right about the same as a 2.5 milligram. So you probably are really familiar with the milligrams, the 2.5 milligrams, the 5 milligrams, the 10 milligrams, 15, right? So that's really common knowledge when it comes to these weight loss drugs. But when you do something that's compounded and you actually dose yourself with the vial of medication, it's measured in units. So 22 units of compounded Tirzepatide is the absolute lowest dose to start this medication, and then it really is tiny. Matter of fact, when I saw the bottle and when I put the medication into the needle, I thought there is no way that this is enough. I have this mentality of it's got to be a lot in order to work, and that's not how this works. A little bit goes a long way. So I started on my compounded Tirzepatide August the 8th of this year. I'm recording this video on October the 12th. So I have been using the compounded weight loss medication for about 9 weeks, roughly, somewhere in there. And altogether, I have lost 12 pounds. I dose myself on Mondays, so I'll be giving myself a dose tomorrow. And overall, I have been more than happy with this medication and my results. And believe it or not, it's not just because of the 12-pound weight loss. What I've also discovered is I have a decrease in my inflammation. Like, it is crazy how much my inflammation has gone down. And my doctor told me to do the ring test in the mornings, and it so works. She goes, when you get up in the mornings, test your rings and see if you can move them, because if you can move your rings in the morning, then that means your inflammation has gone down or is going down. And by golly, every single morning when I get up, I'm feeling my rings, and I'm like, so I still have some inflammation. It's not 100% gone, but I mean, the decrease in my inflammation has been tremendous. And then of course the weight loss, I feel so much better just even at 12 pounds lighter. That has made a huge difference. And I don't know if it's a placebo effect, right? I really don't know, because by the time I decided to use this drug, I was ready. I was at a point where I was humbling myself. I was willing to acknowledge that I was wrong about all of this. I was willing to say, hey, you know what? I need help. I'm not able to do all of this on my own. I mean, technically, yes, I could if we want to get real technical, but because of just multiple things, right? Too much to kind of put in this video, it was challenging for me. And so being able to humble myself and educate myself, and then just try it and say, okay, give it a shot. Let's do 1 month. Okay, 1 month on this drug, and let's just see what happens. And because of the other side effects that are positive, I just love it. I mean, like, I really enjoy being on this medication, and I can see where it is actually helping me mentally too. Once again, maybe it's a placebo effect, but quite honestly, I don't care if it is, because I am feeling better mentally and emotionally. I am processing things just a little bit differently. I feel just a little bit lighter. I feel like, I don't know, I just feel less heavy. And I don't just mean that in the literal terms of weight heavy, but just an overall heaviness that I was feeling, that I feel lighter now. In case you're wondering, no, I do not plan on being on this medication forever. There are some women who do, and you know what? Kudos to you. If that works for you, by all means do so. I don't feel like I need to be on it forever, and again, I don't really want to be on it forever. I told my doctor I want to lose the 26 pounds that I gained, go back to my healthy weight, the weight that I, was for many years and is very appropriate for my height and my bone structure and everything. I said I want to lose that 26 pounds, and then I want to maintain it for about 3 months, and then I want to start coming off of this medication. And she's totally in agreement with me on that. And so altogether, it's probably going to take about a year. Is kind of where I'm thinking. Even though I'm roughly halfway there on my weight loss, I mean, I could stall at any point. Just because I've done well so far doesn't mean that I won't go into a stall mode. So I really, at this point, don't know when I'm going to reach my full goal. And so that's why I'm saying I'm going to give myself roughly a year to just kind of take my time with it. I'm not rushing it. As far as like side effects, honestly, I have had almost none. The mild side effects that I have had has been a little bit of nausea, and that was really minor. I have a little TMI, but no constipation. I know a lot of people do struggle with constipation with these drugs. That is a potential side effect, but I have not had any constipation. And again, like, I really have not had any particular side effects from this medication that has caused any problems. I can say with an honest heart that this has been a great decision for me with my mental health and with my physical health in menopause. If you get nothing else out of this video, I want you to get this. Number one, if you've had the same struggles as me, if you can really resonate, if you're still on the fence about using one of these particular medications, but you are steadily gaining weight, or just you're doing all the things to lose the weight and it's not working, if you are in that mindset, I do encourage you, if nothing else, just to humble yourself. Go talk to your doctor. Just go meet with him or her like I did, and just kind of explain your situation, explain your hesitations, explain whatever concerns you have, and then let your doctor hopefully educate you. And they may validate you, they may help you to make the decision like mine did. I don't know, but I think it's worth just doing that. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, if being on a weight loss drug is just kind of a moot point for you because maybe you're not struggling with your weight, menopause, and that all is fine. Maybe it's something else that you have been wanting to do, or you thought about doing, but you're just still struggling to do it. You're struggling to pull the plug. For example, maybe you have never been on an SSRI, and you recognize that you are dealing with some anxiety, you are dealing with some depression, and you've been trying to manage it on your own with supplements or exercising, but it's still creeping in. It's still grabbing a hold of you from time to time. This is when I would say, again, go talk to your doctor, talk to your therapist, and just say, okay, I have these concerns. I've never been on this medication before. Or maybe you're feeling like it's a weakness. I didn't mention that earlier, but when I went to my doctor and humbled myself, I also felt a little bit like a weakness. Like somehow I had failed myself because the diet and the exercising for the prior year, didn't quote unquote work. So maybe that might be part of it too, right? You're feeling a little weak, like I shouldn't have to take Wellbutrin or Lexapro or Zoloft or whatever it is. Just keep in mind that it is better, in my humble opinion, it is better to humble yourself, to have a willingness to learn, to open up your heart and your mind, to educate yourself, whether it's about weight loss, drug, or diet, or maybe it's about being on an SSRI, or something else, right? Just kind of fill in the blank. To just take the time to understand, and then when you do that, when you open yourself up, when you have an open mind, and you learn and you educate and you have a better understanding, then you can make a full educated decision for yourself. And then at that point, set a timeline. As I mentioned, I'm going to do this for about a year. Same thing can apply with an SSRI. Maybe for you, you talk to your doctor and you decide, okay, I'm going to try Wellbutrin. I'm going to do, 75 milligrams of Wellbutrin. I'm going to see how that feels, and then if I need to, I'll go up to 150, but if I'm good at 75, I'll just stay there, and I'm going to try it for 6 months, right? I'm going to give it a solid 6 months. I'll see how I do, and at the end of 6 months, I'm going to evaluate it, and then I'm going to decide, do I continue with it or do I stop? So, once you educate yourself and you make the decision and you try whatever it is that is needed to help you, then you just kind of set those parameters for yourself. You just simply say, okay, I'm going to do this for X amount of time, and then I'll see what's next. Usually, if you follow those steps that I am talking about, usually what most people realize is, oh, okay, this was a good decision. Like, this has really been helpful, and I'm glad that I did it. And I realize that it doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't make me a weak person. It doesn't make me a hypocrite. It doesn't make me any of those things. It just makes me a human being who finally humbled herself, educated herself, and then made a decision that was best for you. I cannot stress enough, it is so important to not compare ourselves to other women going through menopause, because what's going to work for them may not work for you, and vice versa. And I'll end with this. This is my journey, and compounded Tirzepatide has been a game changer and has been a great decision. It goes beyond the weight loss. I'm excited about the weight loss. I'm happy about the weight loss, but the mental effects from it, the decrease in inflammation, just the overall lightness that I have felt, and yeah, like the positives far outweigh any negatives. I'm holding onto my phone because I'm in my neighborhood now. I just realized the phone might go flying. I feel so confident about this decision and how it has affected me that I know, like, I'm prepared if I get any negativity, if I get any pushback from anybody in my family or friends or just complete strangers, that I feel really confident in this decision. And that's really not what it's all about, but that's just a really great feeling. And you do all the things and you see the results, and then you use that as your confidence to know that I am taking care of myself in menopause, that I am doing things that actually help me and put me on a better trajectory for, you know, as I continue down this path. Because the reality is, no one really knows what's going to keep happening as we go through our 50s and then into our 60s. You know, we cross our fingers and say a prayer that, yeah, it'll ease up and maybe get a little bit better. But the reality is, we just don't simply know. And so it's important to kind of stay in the moment, stay in the present, figure out what's going on, and then make that decision. I feel like I'm starting to ramble, so I'm going to wrap this up. I also just pulled into my driveway, so this is like perfect timing. I did it. I maintained safety. Now, will I do this again? Probably not, but it served a purpose for today to get this video out to you Monday, October the 13th. Okay, my friend, if any of this stuff resonated with you, if you have any questions or comments, please be sure to comment below. And I always welcome the conversations. I'm gonna keep doing the thing, but please let me know. And if you, again, liked anything that I said, do me a favor and please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and then hit that share button and share it with her. You know, who needs to hear this message? Is it your friend, your sister? Is it your, adult daughter? Like, who needs to hear this message? And just share this with her, and let her know that I welcome the conversation as well. Okay, my friend, I'm going to park this car and I'm going to go inside and say hello to my hubby. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful morning, day, evening, whenever you are watching this video. Bye for now.